Hello, my name is Crypto Gardener and I hate banks. That's not the only thing I hate. There are many other things I hate, but I particularly hate banks. I should say I don't hate people who work in banks. Some of my best friends work in banks. No, it's just banks, the system, that I hate. I'll admit that that is an emotional response largely to the fact that I have to give them lots of money every single month. But aside from emotions, I think that there are real rational reasons why I should hate banks. And in fact, that everybody should hate banks as much as I do, if not more. But it's just a hunch, you see. And I'd like some more certainty. I have another hunch that cryptocurrencies offer some solutions to the problems that banks cause. It's a strong hunch, but I'm betting on it by dollar cost averaging into some of my favourite cryptocurrencies. But I'd like some more certainty that I'm doing the right thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to prove it, to prove my hunches in coming weeks. Now I don't know how easy this is going to be. I don't know how far I'm going to get. I don't know how interesting it's going to be, but I hope it may provoke some interesting discussion. And we might together somehow get closer to some certainty. I've got some ideas about how I'm going to go about this, but it involves looking at the economy from the outside, taking ourselves out of it altogether. Because when we look at it from the inside, as we normally do, we look at the world through our own eyes based on our own experiences. The economy is tremendously complex. It's notoriously difficult to understand. But if you just take my perspective as an example, okay, my experience of the economy is from working in the horticulture industry for 20 years. Now, about, when was it, 10 years ago, there was a big financial crash, wasn't there? Remember that. Now, at the time, I was training as a landscape architect, and I was doing a year's internship in a major international architect's office. It was an international company, architecture company. And I was working in an office. There were 22 people in this office, and it was 2008, and I was in the landscape department. I was basically a CAD monkey, drawing car parks and construction details for fences and things like that. But it was a good experience. But there I was in this architecture office, multinational, and then Lehman Brothers went down. The crash started, and very quickly, HR came up from that London, and they there was 22 people in the office, and one by one, certain people got a little tap on the shoulder from the boss, and they had to go into the office, and the next day they weren't there. This was an international architecture business. Their business was based on construction, development, bridges, housing projects. The first industry to take a hit. I was okay because I was guaranteed my student year, so they were obliged to keep me on for that time. But yeah, I watched people drop like flies around me. And I also watched whole plans for housing developments scrapped. I was working on a gigantic project in Ireland to build hundreds and hundreds of high quality homes. That all just got binned, didn't it? All that work. So what I did, I looked at my future career prospects and thought, well, I don't want to be involved in an industry which is so dependent on the world economy like that. And horticulture, as it turns out, is in some respects recession proof, because when there's a recession, people stop moving house, they stop selling and buying houses, and they stay where they are and they make improvements to their own house and to their garden. So in fact, in the last recession, certainly in the landscaping industry, it went up. You know, there were all sorts of other industries that went down, but landscaping, guys that go around putting patios in people's gardens and building decks, well, that went up, didn't it? So I thought, right, rather than going into landscape architecture, I'm going to go more down the domestic garden route. And so that's what I did. And 3 years ago, I decided it was time to be my own boss and set up my own business, designing, building and maintaining gardens. So and it's a huge industry, 3 billion quid a year, something like that. People love their gardens in the UK, so it's a sensible thing to do. So we started the business, and I did all the research, had a nice cash flow plan, nice business plan all set up, and what I was doing was I was undercutting my competitors to get work and to get a reputation together, and that was all working very nicely. We were getting good feedback from all our work. But when we looked at what was actually going on, we saw that it couldn't continue because the expenses were too high and the profits were too low. So we were going to, at this rate, we would end up bankrupt. You know, no business. So we changed things like good business people. We looked at our operations and streamlined things and worked more effectively and put our prices up. And we're just starting our 4th year. Our reputation now precedes us, and work is coming to us, and it looks promising that, you know, this downtrend that we've been experiencing is going to turn around and things are going to be okay. But something happened back there, because when we put our prices up, what that meant was that we had to go to some of our customers and say, sorry, we can no longer come and work for you because you can't afford it anymore. If we carried on working for these people that couldn't afford it, we would simply not be able to pay our own bills and then go out of business. And therefore we wouldn't be able to do anybody's garden. So we were faced with a choice: either not work for people that can't afford it, or go out of business. So we've excluded a section of society which is largely made up of older, poorer people, often widowed, that live locally. Basically, I used to look after some of my neighbours' gardens cheaply, but I can no longer afford to do that, so I have to say, no, I can't look after your garden anymore. And I go past their gardens now and they're like a jungle, and it's heartbreaking. And it's not just me. They can't find a gardener that will work cheaply enough for them to afford, because it's the same for all gardeners. You either charge these high rates or go out of business. I see it over and over again. I hear the same story. So this is basically just my experience of the economy. Okay, my business represents hopefully a success story of the fiat currency system, but at what cost? Just from my tiny little experience here, I have had to contribute to excluding a section of society from enjoying nice things like having a nice garden. You know, some of these people have worked hard all their lives. One of my customers that we don't do anymore, she actually was a prize-winning gardener in her lifetime, and now she's far too old and frail to be able to look after her own garden, and it really is heartbreaking. So, how did we get to this place where we have a society that excludes poorer people from having anything that they can enjoy? You know, I didn't choose that. I didn't think, I only want to work for rich people. No, I wanted to not discriminate against anybody and, you know, just offer our good, wholesome services to people that need it. But I can't do that. So when I look back now and try and work out what went wrong, what happened to actually cause this, that's where it sends my head spinning. And yeah, I've got some ideas about what it might be, but there's so many counter arguments to it all that it can't be done, I don't think. I don't think you can do it from the inside. So what I'm going to try and do is to try and just take myself off of this planet and look down on it from above, as it were, and try and see what's going on and explain it in a way that anybody could understand. So wish me luck. So that is it for today, I think. I will just say that you may support my quest for the truth in liking, commenting and subscribing to the channel. Any ideas that you have about how we may prove that banks are evil, I would be delighted to hear that. And you may also support me by contributing a sum of my favourite cryptocurrency, Electroneum, to the wallet address in the description. So, until we start, I shall wish you all very well. Take care.